Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Joining me today is my most adorable co-host, Nora, journeyman storyteller and initiate to the seventh circle of lore, here causing mayhem in the most adorable fashion possible. But for today, while I am still working on the badass brawler guide, what the level 20 taproom beatdown artist is going to look like, as well as going back over the information for our witch to put together what they will look like at level 20, thanks to the suggestion of Daigle May. Today, we're going to talk about something that I do believe several groups do, but not all of them. And it's something that, maybe you don't expect new players to really do just because they don't know what's expected of them or how to play. They're just learning and starting out. But for more veteran and experienced players, or those new players who may be watching this, it's important that they be able to add into the story. And I don't just mean through their character's backstory, their background, and the various actions that they may undertake, or just the impact that they have on the story overall through the course of gameplay. What I mean is, the players should be able to have a direct influence on certain story elements. And just to give you an example, some family was out recently, family that had quarantined really well, works an IT job, dearly beloved cousin of mine. So he remotes in from home. So we stayed safe, kept this one safe, of course, like I'd let anything bad happen to her. But we were playing D20 Modern, and I set it in the 1920s. And I had a couple of ideas for what the main story was going to be, and I knew what I wanted to throw in. It was a Shadow Chasers campaign, so all the magic, the mystical, the arcane, and the supernatural, all real, all active, but those are all things that most normal people just automatically do not see. Their brains just have this built-in filter of fantasy's not real. That's why it's called fantasy. Magic doesn't exist. Witches aren't real. But it's still far enough back in time where there's still a lot of superstition. The Industrial Revolution has happened, and science has gone on to explain a great many things, and so has medical science. But the effects of World War I shattered a lot of people's illusions about the progress that the world was making. The Spanish flu dispelled the illusion that science was going to be curing all disease forever. See, she knows. She's making cutting insights and additions to the overall discourse here. Thank you, Nora. I appreciate that, little one. So, that's the setting that we're in, and I was figuring out how to start it, but my cousin had made a character, Sven Arcos, a Romani man, a bare knuckle boxer, as well as, interestingly enough, a toy maker. Because his toy making, his clever little inventions and things he'd put together were actually how he paid the bills. Because while he was definitely building his character to be good at brawling and getting into the mix, he's still level 1. Level 2. We started off level 2, excuse me. He's a level 2 character. He does not have the same skill and experience, so his character was not a very good boxer. Had some talent, sure, but he really needed to be refining things, and he was not part of any formal organization. He was just all bare knuckle back alley. Uh-oh. One moment, folks. So, one bonked head later, and here we are. So, Sven Arcos is a level 2 character, boxer, but not that great of a boxer because, again, level 2 character. So he's using his skills as a toy maker and his clever little designs in order to help pay the bills, bring in that extra income that being an amateur back alley bare knuckle boxer is just not bringing him right now. But there's a problem, or he has a problem. He works with the Hasbro company, relatively recent little startup that's seeing great success with this new venture with the Ouija board. The Ouija board is absolutely popular right now between all the deaths of World War One, as well as the Spanish flu going around. Everybody is toying with the idea of contacting their dead relatives with these little at-home seances. Hello. Oh, thank you. Mmm, yummy. Thank you for sharing, little one. Anyways, so his problem is a relative drop in the bucket, but the problem is a design for a unique pencil case, a little pencil holder, has been stolen. It's something that he based off of box magazines for firearms, like the Colt 45. And, since Hasbro's not too worried about it, he's going on a personal route with this one. He's hiring a private investigator. At least this was the hook that he threw out there when we started playing. And you know what? I snapped it up and used that because the player just created an easy way for me to loop in one of the ideas that I had. I wasn't necessarily going with toy makers at first, but it fit with an idea that I had for incorporating the Fae in this setting because it is a D20 Shadow Chaser styled setting. All the fictional and fantastical supernatural things are real, but most people are just unable to perceive it all. DM Daddy. So, I used that hook that the player came up with and incorporated it into a campaign. And you know what? It fit with the Fae because all these old stories, these mythical stories about the Fae, there's so many bits of folklore involving children. Like, and you can easily mix and match different things, like the Pied Piper. Pied Piper came to town, got the rats out of town. The village refused to pay, and so the Pied Piper led all the children away. That fits very, very well with the Fae, and things like that just are so easy to incorporate in to this kind of a game, especially given the setting back in the 1920s, where, as I said, a lot of the world's illusions about its own progress had been shattered by World War One, and science was just absolutely floored by the devastation that Spanish flu had wrought on the world. I mean, nobody had any ideas or doubts as to whether or not, and it wasn't going to, was how it was going to just eradicate disease from humankind. It was never going to happen. That was made fundamentally very, very clear. So the world is piecing itself back together, and that leaves a lot of gaps and a lot of openings for these different supernatural elements to take place. And because the players had thrown in this particular hook, and both of them jumped on it, it just made everything that much easier for me. So, for all you DMs out there, be open to your players throwing out their own little hooks to the story. You might be surprised what you end up coming up with and how things just kind of, as much as I hate to use the term, how much things just kind of organically come together and grow, and how the story just evolves and progresses as players interact and interchange and throw out different ideas and progressions. I mean, my cousin had helped me come up with several NPCs just over the course of gameplay, just people he would reasonably know. He has a brother named Vladislav Arcos, who is definitely crazy murderer kind of type. Well, I say crazy, just more ruthless, cold-blooded, bloodthirsty, but things like that. And of course, his Romani clans, the Caravan's matriarch, and all of these different things, all these different characters that were just so much more easily put together because of one player throwing out an idea. And of course, it helps that the other player, my brother, had jumped all over it and just used that hook to kind of work his character, and it worked out really nicely. So be open to that idea. New players out there, don't be afraid to throw these things out there and work with your DM, not only just with character creation and putting together backstory, but work with them in helping build this world a bit more. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I think I might know a guy, and have it be a cousin or somebody you've worked with before, or even a rival that you might have. all these different things the DM can, should, and hopefully will use. This is all incredibly good information for any DM to take advantage of. But I think that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it off for now. I've got a lot more work ahead of me, catching up on videos missed over the last 2 weeks, as well as putting things together for the Brawler Guide, the the Witch's Guide, as well as the Monk Guide too. We want to see what a level 20 monk looks like. So, with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. This has been my most adorable co-host, Nora, journeyman storyteller and initiate to the Seventh Circle of Lore. Thank you all so very much for joining us today, and you all have yourselves a good night. I'm recording in the daytime again. Have a good day.